Bill for More podcast, Denny Thompson, Pastor Joby Martin, joined today by Rece Davis. Man, this is awesome. How you doing?
I'm doing great. Appreciate you guys having me.
I'm kind of nervous talking to him. Like he hosts like the most professional shows in the world, and then he's coming in here and we're just like,
it's not even Saturday morning. I usually spend Saturday morning.
Well, I spend Sunday mornings with you, so it makes us even, right?
Right. I spent last night watching him do the Duke game. So yeah, you're all over the place, man. Thank you for taking the time.
No, it's my pleasure. Happy to be
For
here.
sure. I'm excited to just kind of dig in because there's so much to your story. I mean, we see you now, right? But it was fun to go do the research on kind of where you I didn't know you went to Alabama. I had no idea. You're a Crimson Tide
You
guy.
didn't know that either?
No idea.
Right? Like you were born in Chicago, is that?
Yeah, I was born in Chicago, but my folks are from Alabama. My dad was working in Chicago as a machinist. He they grew up in a small town in Alabama, and back then people would go north for work, and that's what he did. And he came back, married my mom, and took her back to Chicago, and I was born there. But we moved back to Alabama when I think I was 4. So that's where I grew up. That's home, and that's where my family was from.
You don't sound like you're from Alabama.
You know what, Joby? I used to really sound like I'm from Alabama because I am. And I tried to clean up some of the diction, and I finally decided at one point pretty early in my career, with the help actually of my wife's uncle, if I say something every now and then that sounds as if I'm from Muscle Shoals, Alabama, I am. So it's okay, So I've tried to clean up some of it, and I think a lot of it is ear to mouth. Yeah. Since we've moved here and spent a lot of time here, people have told me I've picked up a little bit more of it again than I did when living full time in Connecticut. But no, it's that's home. It's where I grew up. So
Quarterback and shooting guard at Muscle Shoals
and
High
bad
School.
both.
Really? I don't believe that.
I was decidedly below average. Now, see, the great thing, if you're just a normal job, you can exaggerate your high school career. Nobody's going to know the difference.
Yeah.
If I exaggerate at all, everybody's going to tell the truth, and I don't need that. So I beat them to the punch.
Your own network can look you up.
Oh yeah,
expose you, right?
That's no good.
I kind of get that because I train quarterbacks, and everybody's like, "Oh, you must have been a great quarterback." I'm like, no, I handed off really well, but that was about it.
See, I'm a preacher, so I'm a legend in my own mind.
Baseball, football,
all the things. You know what is funny? My brother played college football, and we were at my dad's house. This is a long time ago, and we busted out our old VCR highlight tapes and watched them. And we are much better in our memory than the tape. Like that move where that's not what happened. I stumbled, I got tripped, and I ran.
It doesn't look like it looks like on Saturdays when you're watching Georgia?
It doesn't look anything like that.
When you played, did you think, I think about this all the time. I can remember when I played, like going, I could play it. Like if I just got there, I could play it. There's not a chance.
Not a chance. When I was in the 9th grade, sat Daddy down and said, I need to have a serious conversation. Do you think I should focus on the MLB or the NFL? And he's like, you should probably study.
Not a lot of guys from Dillon, South Carolina going.
There's not a lot of my guys. No.
Yeah. So obviously, Rece with ESPN, Sports Center, College GameDay. What is the basketball? Is it College GameDay basketball?
College GameDay basketball.
Also College GameDay. Yeah. And that's largely what you spend your time doing now, right? Mm-hmm. But the interesting thing, Joby, is like I didn't realize he's done auto racing, horse racing. Like what else am I missing? Soccer?
NBA, I did soccer. I did World Cup and the Euros. Now, all of those I had to do homework on. And in fact, I hadn't been at ESPN long, and as you mentioned, I played football and basketball poorly, so those are the ones that I love. Now I love baseball too. But I didn't really know car racing. I didn't know anything about it. You know a little bit by osmosis if you grew up in Alabama. And I've been there a couple of years, and I was hosting a show called NBA Tonight, and one of our executives called me. I'd only been there 2 years, and he said, we'd like for you to take over the RPM Tonight show. And I said to him, I'll do it. I'll learn anything. I'm not really in a position of power here. I said, but if you think, hey, let's get the guy from Alabama to do the car racing show. I said, you got the wrong dude. I said, as long as you understand that, I'll do the homework and learn it, but I don't know it. So
I'm sure you've been asked this a million times, but like outside of football and basketball, of all that stuff, what's your favorite to do? What's like the one memory from the other sports, not football or basketball, that just kind of sticks with you as a cool event or cool experience?
I think probably I did some of the horse racing for a while, and the the Triple Crown races, especially if you have the opportunity to actually win the Triple Crown. Smarty Jones was going for it. I was there for the Barbaro situation. I mean, it feels big.
Mm-hmm.
It's a giant event, and that's a lot of fun to do. And all of the ancillary things that go on, like around the Derby on Kentucky Oaks Day and on Kentucky Derby Day, is kind of a kick because it gives you something fresh. It's a little bit different from your year-to-year football and basketball, which I love, and that's my wheelhouse. That's fastball middle end for me. But it's nice to be able to do those other things too. And so I marvel at the guys, maybe because I'm not a gambler, but I worked with this guy the first year I did horse racing who had no notes, no nothing, and he would take that racing form and he could just like flow with everything the horse had ever done. Wow. And the jockey and he would just look at it and glance at it and say, well, this horse is a mutter. He came in third at Santa Anita and all this stuff, and he's just blowing through it. And I'm like, I've been studying for weeks just trying not to say something dumb, and
I think there's like a 800 number for those guys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dude, the Derby's one of the funnest events I've ever been. Yeah. A guy at the church has got partial ownership in a horse, and so we went, and I mean, it's like a whole, like you put on a costume and there's certain things you do. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
it was awesome. And so, we did the betting thing. I have no idea what I'm doing. Gretchen's just picking based on names, you know, and
which one's peed before the race?
Bro, we had the best time. And like on the gambling thing, I was just like, all right, we're gonna go $200.
Yeah.
That's gonna be it.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And then if I've got any money left over at the last race, we're going all in.
Yep.
And I was down 100, went all in, and made up $100 or something.
Well, there you go.
Super fun, dude. But that whole experience.
You did the whole dress up thing. You did all of it.
100%.
Yeah. That's another one I'd like to do.
It's super. You got to. It's
knocked out the Ryder Cup. That was a big.
Oh, did
one.
you really?
Yeah, did that
I'd
this
like
year.
To do that. That'd be cool.
Yeah, that was fantastic.
Thank you, Webb.
Yeah, thank you, Webb. Yeah, huge there. But definitely Kentucky Derby seems like Kirk Herbstreit talks about it all. He goes
all the time. Kirk owns horses. All right, he did. I don't know if he still does. Now he's into dogs, as you've seen with Peter Herbstreit. But Kirk had a horse. And we were calling a game together one night, probably a Labor Day night, and the horse was running. And so I lost him for a drive or so because he was trying to whip the horse home. I'm exaggerating slightly, but he was into it, man. I don't know if he still owns the horse or not, but he was into it for a while.
It'd be a fun trip.
Ownership.
It'd be a fun trip. I'll have to do that one. Yeah.
All right. What's your favorite game day town? Or what are some highlights?
Okay, you have to take away the alma mater because you love going back. But if you take that away, the best place we've been would be Washington State. We went to Pullman because they did the whole 15-year crusade of having that flag at every show for 15 years saying, please come. And when we went in 2018, phenomenal.
They showed up.
And the other one was Cal last year. I mean, Cal was ridiculous.
Miami game, right?
Yeah, it was a Miami-Cal game. And, I mean, 6 a.m, local time, people as far as you could see. Students, obviously very smart, very clever signs. One guy in the middle had this giant sign that said, "This is the worst protest I've ever been to." That kind of, I mean, they were making fun of themselves and they reacted to everything that happened on the show. And when you have a group, an audience there, the live audience, you have to balance on our show, doing it for the live audience to make it entertaining for the bigger audience which is on TV. When they're participating the way those kids did at Cal, it was awesome. Now, they're old standbys. It's great to go to Athens and Oxford and Gainesville if we ever get back there. Tuscaloosa.
Take the jab.
Yeah,
go ahead.
I'm just kidding.
I love it.
Miami on campus was great this year, but I love going to the places where we either have never been or haven't been in a really long time, and they love football. If you get those two things together and they're really excited about their team, it's cool. Went to Indiana last year when they were good for the first time ever, basically, and it was awesome. It was great.
I got to do the whole backstage thing at Alabama last year and also Texas last year, and the thing that just floored me, dude, the traveling road show that thing is.
Yeah,
I have no idea how many staff y'all travel with.
Probably 150, something like
Joby,
that.
it is insane, the production of
But it's
that.
got to be by far the most watched thing on Saturday morning in football season, right? I mean, it's not even close. It is an entity unto itself. I can't. So on Saturdays, I get up early so that I can get to the gym, so that I can get home, and I'm waiting for it to start.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And then I click between you and SEC Nation. Depending on, like, if you're in Athens, I stay. You know what I'm saying? And then I just got, like, you water it down with all those.
It's the
less
show
important
that
teams.
All the Big Ten teams.
Yeah, whoever
ACC,
they are,
you don't need that.
Yeah.
and he calls those JV.
Yeah, the second place folks.
Yeah, the JV squads. It's, I don't know, when you watch that though, it feels like one of the most well-run professional shows that you watch. Like everybody's so good at their job. Like you hear Kirk, you hear you obviously, and just the way you lead everything, and then I think, you know, you hear the way Kirk approaches it, and then what Pat's done is just,
I love him.
all of them. That's like all of them are just so good at what they do. I don't know that there's another show where I watch it and I just immediately get that feeling.
There's great chemistry among the people on the set, and I think really, really strong level of respect for what everybody does well. You know, and nobody really tries to be someone other than who they are. And I think the fact that we have respect and there's, you know, there's an affection for each other has really helped us. So it's nobody gets mad if you challenge them or if you bust their chops a little bit or if you disagree with them. You know, nobody's going to get bent out of shape. And in addition to the people on the set, we've got great producers who really care about the show. I think the thing about Game Day, and we've had people there, we've had directors there, you know, people who are orchestrating what goes out over the air by choosing the cameras and so forth. If you don't immerse yourself in it, and some didn't, that show's not for you. And you're not going to last long. And it doesn't mean you're going to be dismissed from the company, and it doesn't mean you're not good at your job in a vacuum or in other areas. But you sort of have to immerse yourself in Game Day if you're going to succeed there. That goes for those of us on the air and for the people, our producers and our associate producers. And I've got unbelievable researchers who can answer any question. I mean, this woman, Marissa Dowling, who is our researcher, I was on the plane this morning, and I said, hey, I think I've got this tiebreaker figured out in the Big Ten. Am I right? 8 o'clock in the morning, she's back to me in 20 minutes. And she said, yep, you're good, or no, you're not good. Here it is. And everybody lives it. You know, and that's I think that's really part of the secret sauce of the show.
Can you tell her to hit me up and explain the ACC for me?
That one's getting all of us. That one is getting all of us.
That one's crazy right there.
What's Saban like?
The best communicator I've ever seen.
Say more.
Whether in speaking to his team, which I've seen him speak to business groups. I've seen him certainly speak in our meetings and on television. I've seen him go one-on-one. He has an uncanny knack to be able to take exactly what people need to hear, whether they like it or not, and deliver it in a way that makes you want to do it better. Not. I've been around people before who would say things to you that would make you want to be better in a different way or challenge you in a way that makes you bow up. And I know he did that with his players, but in other things, he says things to you that you know are true. And then you want to be better. You don't want to go into that show and not be at his level of preparation. And he's also really team oriented. He is very much team oriented. And I think that's one of the things that I hope has filled the void of not coaching for him. You know, it's like the biggest treat in the world to me that generally there's a group of us that goes to dinner on Friday night. Now, until Nick came, I never went anywhere on Friday night. Friday night was a school night. I locked in. You know, I went to my room. I got DoorDash. I had noodles and company or something. That was just it. But when he first came, we wanted to make an effort to make sure to bring him in. And then I had so much fun that I've reorganized my Fridays to make sure I'm done, or at least close enough to done, to go spend time in that environment and hear the stories. He's not sitting up there lecturing. He's busting people's chops and telling stories and basically recounting the losses. He said the other night at dinner, he goes, I don't know why I remember all of the bad things that happened instead of all of the good ones. Replay this play or that play. And the connections he's made coming up through the ranks and where all he's been as an assistant coach, man, I mean, his ability to recount that and then tie it to something that is pertinent to you or the show or the situation you're in. It's uncanny. I thought I knew why he was a good coach, but I'm not sure I understood half of it until I got a chance to be around him like this. He's just brilliant at being able to cut right through and get right to the heart of the matter.
I'm glad he retired from coaching so I could be a fan. I hated him for a long time.
You mentioned,
but he is brilliant. I mean, he's
so smart.
He's the GOAT. Dude.
He is scary smart,
right?
And not just about football. He's a tremendous businessman. The thing that people don't know about what he's done in Tuscaloosa. Now, the success of the football program transformed the university. It has more than doubled in enrollment since he's there, and that is directly attributable to the success he had in football. But he and Miss Terry have such a philanthropic spirit. I mean, they've started the Saban Center. They're doing a center right now that's designed around promoting STEM education, and they're doing it all. He's got the Knicks Kids Foundation. They've built, I think, at least 18 houses through Habitat for Humanity after the tornado came for people who need them. And then one year they didn't win the national championship, so Miss Terry said, well, let's build one for the SEC. So they built one another. They are so giving. They have changed that entire city based on the time they've been there, and it was tied to the success they had in football.
I mean, he changed the game in so many ways. Like, one of the ways that he changed the game is in the treatment of players. Like, I mean, like facilities, right? Mm-hmm. And the quality of treatment that players were getting. Mm. He went out of his way to demand the best of everything at Alabama, right? Like, I mean, I've been to all of them. They have the best facility and everything. And what that turned into is this better recovery for players. You know what I mean? Like, he got that instead of the old school.
That's interesting because he is old school, though.
Right. He is old.
But he was willing to make whatever adjustment he needed, right, to continue to be on the cutting edge of winning.
Yeah, and I don't think you realize it at the time, but now it's like you look back, and I remember, college was very much rub some dirt on it, right? Like, you just get back in the game. And he just figured out how to get the most out of every player, and that included their health and their well-being. And he built the facilities around that so that they could do that. Because it used to be you couldn't even pay for your guys to go get PT. That was an inadmissible benefit, right, or whatever he's called. And so I think he changed the game in so many ways that the average fan does not understand. When they go to a college football game, it is completely different because of what Nick Saban did at Alabama.
I asked him once, and several people have. It's not like some question I thought up. But I said, when did you change from being the old school, hard-nosed guy? And he changed right around the time of maybe his most famous win at Michigan State when they upset Ohio State when Ohio State was number one. And he has worked for years and maintains a close relationship with a tremendous psychologist named Dr. Lonnie Rosen at Michigan State. And he said he didn't think they could win the game. Nick didn't think they could beat Ohio State, and there was plenty of reason not to think that. They were a 500 team. Ohio State was number one. And he said to Dr. Rosen, he said, what am I going to tell a team I don't really think we can win? And Dr. Rosen said, you have got to stop being transactional with the players and be transformational in terms of the relationship with them. And he told the story then on game day. And we put up his record before, and I want to say it was maybe 5 games over 500. In Michigan State, they were getting a little restless with Nick Saban. He's not winning enough. They beat Ohio State, and from that point forward, he became Nick Saban. And the winning percentage is off the charts, 200-some-odd games over 500 or whatever. And it changed everything because he proved to the players, to your point, that he was invested in their success beyond just giving him success by winning the game. And when that changed, everything changed for him.
Well,
you talk about transformational versus transactional leadership.
You talk about that with him all the time, about hearing a story. What was it? What was this?
That's what he said. He said that it had gotten to the point where recruits would come out of the house and Miss Terry would, hang out with them. And where 10 years ago, all the moms would say to her, are you going to take care of my baby? And are they going to get an education? And now the first question was, how much do we get paid? Mm-hmm. And he said it became transactional, not transformational, and that's not why I was here. Mm-hmm. Here's how I knew he was the GOAT. I'm sitting in Atlanta for the national championship. What was that, 18? And he benches Jalen Hurts and puts in Tua. at halftime. And who knew the greatest quarterback in college football that year had been sitting on the bench the whole year? Who does that? I mean, who? I thought, well, we about to roll now. They got this backup in here, and he torched us, man.
How was that? How was that night for you? I've never
almost got divorced. It was terrible.
Did you?
Not literally, but it felt like it. Yeah, it was bad. It was so bad. It was raining. We couldn't get in. Trump came to the game. We're standing in the rain for 3 hours. Yeah. They had just opened the new stadium. They opened 4 doors for 75,000 people to come in, and 2 of them were shut because Trump was here.
Yeah.
It was, terrible. Then we think we're going to win, and then we don't. It's second 26, and that's my anniversary, February 26th. So it was just.
Is that right?
Yeah, dude. So
it's
the beatdown. But it made it all the more sweet, though, when we won 31-18,
And Indy, was that a couple years later?
I've heard Keely Ringo mentioned multiple times from the pulpit.
You know it, man. My favorite thing I've ever done as a preacher. Okay, literally my favorite thing. So it's the week after the national championship, and I stand on stage. I'm like, if you got your Bibles, turn to Revelation 33:18. And everybody's looking, and I'm just talking. And I can see people, and I'm like making announcements. I can see people in the front row like, oh no, pastor's lost it. There's not that many chapters. And I go, if you're looking for 33:18, it ain't in Revelation. It's on the scoreboard of the national championship.
That's fantastic. It must be something about Alabama, Georgia, because last year at Alabama, Trump came, and it was the same thing. It was like you stood around. It was like 2 gates open. It was incredible. And that atmosphere that night in Alabama was insane.
So let's talk football. Why can't Georgia get over the Alabama hump except for that national championship?
I do not know.
Tell me. You know everything about
that. I wish I did. I think my theory on is they get just a little tight because they want it so badly, and everybody talks about it. And I've one of my closest friends is a Georgia guy. He's as big a Johnny Bulldog as you are, and I always tell him when you get over the hump, you're not just going to win like you did in the national championship game. You're going to beat them 49-7 or something like that, and really just exercise all of the demons there. But I think it's probably just a product of they want it so badly, and then they don't like to admit it. That they want it so badly,
Here's what it reminds me of, kind of in the Tebow era of Florida. Gretchen, my wife, she's a fan, but she doesn't know football. She's whatever. And we would go to that game, and during warm-ups, Georgia versus Florida, she would be like, why do we look so different? And I'm telling you, they played so tight, and we lost like 17 out of 20 or something.
It's what you guys are doing to Texas.
Correct.
Yeah.
That's exactly
correct.
Right.
Yeah.
You roll into Texas now and it's like, yeah, we got them. No problem. No problem.
Yeah. I mean, Texas finds ways to lose games against you guys.
Bro.
It's crazy.
What a game. That was a great game.
Yeah.
So people see you now doing all the cool things, an amazing job. Like my job is so awesome, but I tell Kirk all the time, like, y'all may have the best job on the planet. Like that's pretty cool. But let's talk about where it started. Obviously, we talked about you graduating from Alabama, which, by the way, inducted into the Alabama Hall of Fame.
That's incredible.
It just means I'm old, I think.
Well, whatever.
That is absolutely.
I'm old too.
Thank you.
Like that thing has to be one of those. When you get, what was that, 2019?
Yeah.
Is that right?
18 or 19.
That has to feel some type of way because never in a million years when you go to the school do you think you're going to be inducted into the Hall of Fame, right?
No. The thing that hit me about that is I was kind of downplaying it in my mind a little bit that night when they had a really nice ceremony, and they had asked us to keep our remarks. There were several of us that were inducted that night, and keep our remarks about 3 minutes. And I thought, okay, well, I can do that. This is not a big deal. And my wife came down with me, and then a lot of my coworkers came down and surprised me, and I didn't expect. And that almost kind of all of a sudden I was like, you start feeling the magnitude of the moment. You get up there and you kind of start choking up. Like Jay Billis and Tom Rinaldi came, a number of other guys came, and I didn't know they were coming. And it was a really cool thing. I think in looking back on it, it was almost like I was afraid to be proud of it. If that makes any sense in the moment, because I was like, well, I'm going to seem like a jerk. But looking back on it, it is, I'm very proud of that and really grateful that people came and shared that night with me. It was really cool.
That's amazing. Yeah. 1993, Columbus, Georgia, right? And then left there for Flint, Michigan.
Yeah.
So 1993. And then by 1995, you were on ESPN. That's a pretty fast track, isn't it?
Well, it wasn't in Columbus. In Columbus, I got stuck there for 5 years, but there was a reason for it because I went in and my plan was to be in Columbus maybe a year, maybe 2. Now, part of that might have been that I wasn't any good at my job yet. But the other part of it was I met my wife there, and I didn't have any plans to stay. And I always said after I'd been there a year, it was a very difficult, great people, but the station, we didn't have all of the Alabama football type facilities. Let's just put it that way. It was a difficult place to work. And I thought, man, if I ever get out of Columbus, Georgia, I will never, ever, ever go back here. And then I met the love of my life there, and we went back all the time. She was in advertising there, and she came. I'd already been there a couple of years when she was hired, and she crushed it. I mean, she made more money than the general manager did there because they worked on commission. She killed it. Hometown, great at her job, great sales. So I tell her literally, I think about 2 months before our wedding, I'm going to Flint, Michigan, and I'd like for you to come with me. So I moved 6 weeks before the wedding. I moved not knowing if this wedding's going to happen at all. I'm like, is she going to do this or not? And fortunately for me, she did, and she gave up a lot to come and go. So we went to Flint, and she's probably responsible for me being at ESPN too, because I couldn't get a sniff out of Columbus. But I hadn't been in Flint very long at all, and I started getting unsolicited opportunities from Columbus, Ohio, and Oklahoma City, and Milwaukee, and different places. Not all offers, but people reaching out. And she said to me at one point, she said, well, where do you want to go? I said, well, I want to go to ESPN. I said, but I'm going to have to get to a bigger market to do that. And she encouraged me to go ahead and try. And then another alumnus from Alabama, a woman named Andrea Kirby, who is still a talent consultant and had been on the air at ABC years ago. I ran across her name in an alumni publication. I sent her my stuff, and she said, why haven't you sent your tape to ESPN? And I said, well, I thought I had to get to Atlanta or Miami or Chicago or someplace before they would pay attention. And she said, you have this screwed up beyond belief. And I said, what do you mean? She goes, if you get, and remember, this was 1995, 94, 95. I went to ESPN in 95. Local news was much different then. She said, if you go to Atlanta or Chicago or Los Angeles, you'll never go to ESPN. And I said, why not? She said, you won't take the pay cut.
Wow.
And she said, send it now. Yep. And so I sent it, and they hired me. So I was only in Flint for 16 months. But I think because it was my path out of Columbus and because of the relationships I developed there, I have a great affinity for Flint. In fact, my boss, the man who hired me there, I always refer to him as the man who saved my career, Jim Bleicher. Jim and his wife now live in Chicago, and my son was playing independent and still does play independent minor league baseball. He was playing for a team outside of Chicago this summer, and Jim came to a game, came to a couple games this year to come see my son play. So I've been able to maintain that relationship even though I was only there for less than a year and a half.
We talk about a job that's had the biggest pay cut in the last 25 years probably of anything that we know, and that's sports directors on TV.
Oh, really?
Oh, my gosh.
Oh, my goodness.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah.
You take a market like this, I mean, those guys were making in the late 90s high six figures, and now it's dang near hourly.
Mm-hmm.
I had no idea.
Yeah. That's why they all went to radio.
So what was your first what was your first job with ESPN?
First job, they hired me to do something called the Sports Smash. It was when ESPN2 first started, and I did the updates at the top and bottom of the hour and maybe intermission of NHL hockey or something like that, sort of like a 5-minute or less segment. It was within the show called Sports Night that Stuart Scott and Susie Colbert were hosting on ESPN2. And Kenny Mayne was in the mix with us, and Bill Pito, who worked there a long time, is now at MSG. And the three of us did the Sports Smash updates. So that was where I got started.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Well, we always ask this question, and I think we ask it of athletes, but I think it's the same for you. There's a million people that go to journalism school wanting to do what you do. I mean, it's the dream. Like, what was the point when you realized, like, wait a second, I got a chance to make it in this to the level that I didn't know I could?
Probably when I got hired at ESPN, because I was in Columbus, Georgia for so long, I was like, okay, am I going to have to find something else to do? Because, you want to get married, have a family, you're going to have to provide and all of that. And, maybe that's not the way to go. And then but my biggest problem with that is I don't know how to do anything else except run my mouth. So that's a pretty good thing. So I think probably it wasn't until then. I gained a lot of confidence when they hired me in Flint and worked with great people there, tremendous station. The guy I worked with in Flint was the proverbial dean of local sportscasters. He'd been there 30 years or whatever. And learned a lot working for him. Like, you want to come in and make your mark and, show that you're clever and can have a funny line. And he gave me great advice. He said, let him get to know you. He said, let him get to know you a little bit. He said, and then you can show a little more as you go along. And so I was always really grateful for that. But probably when I got hired at ESPN was and that was still a struggle to get to where you wanted to go within the company. But I think once you get that validation of being hired by an entity like that there's some confidence that comes along with that.
I mean, late 90s ESPN was peak.
Bro.
I mean, who didn't watch SportsCenter 18 times a day?
Just over and over. I just watched Scott Van Pelt over and over.
Yes.
Those
Scott,
guys.
Yes, man.
He's so good, man.
He's
Scott's
so
good. He's tremendous.
He asked me to do his wedding. I'm doing a wedding at the beach. Okay, so I'm up there. I've done so many weddings. It's like I hate to say it for all the people I've married, but it's autopilot, man. It's the same thing. Insert the names,
Yeah.
And I'm doing the thing, and I just kind of look around, and I'm like, that guy looks exactly like Scott Van Pelt. That's incredible. Turns out his, at that point, fiance is one of the bridesmaids. So when I get done, I just kind of walk over there, and he stands up. I'm like, yep, it's him. He's a giant.
He's tall. That's 6'7" or so.
Yeah.
Is he really?
Oh,
he's very
gosh,
tall.
dude.
Wow.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Like, awkward to talk too tall, right? So, and then he said nice things. I was like, dude, I watch you every night, like, for my job. And he's like, you're a preacher. What are you talking about? I was like, you're talking about nothing. You're talking about just games, and it's so intriguing. It's so engaging. I have the truth. I have a point. I have the Bible. I have the Spirit of God. Surely I ought to be able to keep people engaged for 30 minutes, and you do it talking about all kind of stuff, right? And so anyway, we hit it off, and then later he asked me to do his wedding, and I was like, oh. And then had a kind of a crisis of conscience because I was already booked for that Saturday. Mm-hmm. And I just didn't have it in my heart to tell the people that I don't even remember whose wedding it was, hey, a famous person wants me to do it, so I'm sorry. And I couldn't do it. So now he always comes to the Tebow Gala here, and when I see him, he's like, here's the guy that wouldn't marry me, So
Is he still married to the same person? If not, it's your fault.
Yeah, it could be my fault. No, he's a stud.
He is, yeah.
Yeah, that's all.
But I do. I mean, I watch Game Day like I'm working. I really do. I mean, you think about it. You guys are an expert in what you're talking about. It's super engaging. I mean, I watch all the stories. I don't know about these people, or they've got a cousin that's going through something. And I think, all right, if they can pull this off, then what do we owe it to the Lord on the weekend to do our jobs in such a, I mean, again, we have the Spirit of God in us. We have the truth of the Word of God. We have a point, And how many church services have you been to and been bored out of your skull? That is a sin.
Yeah.
If we can be entertained by games, and I'm, then surely we should be engaging with the things that matter the most, like matters of faith.
Yep.
And so I do. I watch people like you, shows like Game Day. Like sometimes I'll take notes on just some of the things.
Like what? Like what kind of, when you say you take notes, give me an example.
Scott Van Pelt's calling a basketball game, and the guy dunks, and he just go, he's tall.
Yeah.
That little line is just hilarious. Or he says he scored 483 points, not in one game. That would be a record.
Yeah.
And I thought, man, that little side comment thing, it's just, I'm like, what'd he say? And so in my preaching, sometimes I'll just have a little comment to myself. And it's, what it came across to me is, I don't even think he cares if anybody else thinks that's funny. He thinks that's funny. And so he's just going to say it to himself. Things like that. Things like that. Yeah.
It's interesting that you're saying that because that's kind of what I was saying about the excellence of y'all's show, of Game Day. Because I don't care about football at this point. Like I think we were talking about before. I don't watch football, but I will watch. I know you do. And I love that for you. I'm happy for you. Go Dogs, all the things.
Sure.
But I love to watch Game Day because I love to sit there and go, wait, I think I'm good at my job and I think I'm prepared for my job. I just watched Pat McAfee stand on a chair
Okay.
in front of 40,000 people and do something that like most people would be embarrassed to do. And he did it at a level that is like unconscionable to me.
When he calls the dogs is the best thing. But here's the thing too. Here's what I also noticed. When Pat McAfee comes on the show and acts a fool, bro. I mean, he brings a new thing that was not there and now is there. So I love to watch Coach Saban react to it. I just, Yep. But here's what I've noticed. All right, if it's you, Pat, Nick Saban, Kirk Herbstreit, but none of the others of y'all have not tried to be like him. Right. You just stayed in your lane. You know who you are, and you trust that God gave you a set of talents and gifts, and it would be weird for Rece to try to act like Coach Saban,
Right.
And so a lot of time in preaching, what a lot of guys do is they begin to mimic other preachers because they think that's effective instead of learn the voice that God gave them and stay in their lane. And that's why it comes across. I mean, I guess you guys do cast it. I mean, you don't think about it like a sitcom, but it really does come off like you're the smartest. Well, Coach Saban might be the smartest experientially, but you know all the things. You're kind of the heartfelt one.
Quarterback, yep.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
Like you're kind of the point guard of the show. This is what it comes across as.
Yeah.
Pat is an absolute clown, but awesome. He kind of reminds you of the guy you're at the sports bar with, It's like, put your shirt on, man. The game hasn't started. It's kind of like that. Kirk's been there and done that as a player, and then Coach Saban's the GOAT coach. So it's like the four horsemen here.
But, and don't forget, Desmond's been.
Desmond's incredible.
It's like
incredible.
Yeah, I love that he did an interview with Carson back in Miami, and I've just kind of watched him and his interview style. Like, I love his interviews.
He's tremendous.
He comes across like that kid, like that high school kid that just loves the game more than. I mean, he just also happens to be the most talented and is a Heisman Trophy guy. You know what I mean? But he still just loves it. Kind of like Tebow on the SEC Nation. He just loves the environment, the game. And it's like the X-Men of college football.
That's a great.
And everybody's got their own thing, but together it's way better than any individual.
Talk about that for a second, Rece, because in getting to know Kirk the way I have, it's like that guy just loves football.
He does.
Dude, you go in his house,
old soul too,
and you're like, why do you have so many helmets? Like, why do you have all these balls? Like, what?
He loves it.
And is that the kind of the thing? Is everybody just kind of loves what they're doing there?
And I think they love the show and they care about it, but they really care about the health of the sport. And Kirk has such a connection, as I do. He and I bond over this with the history, the things that we've always valued about them. Sometimes we've put on blinders and pretended some of the, other stuff didn't happen, whether it's, players being paid. That's not a new thing, by the way. Players have been paid forever.
NIL means now it's legal.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly right. But there's a feeling that you want to have when you walk in the Sanford Stadium, when you walk into any stadium. You want to feel like those guys out there love it as much as you do, that they're there for the glory of Georgia or whoever, Florida or whoever. And Kirk loves that. Yeah. Kirk will get nostalgic when they play Carmen, Ohio, when we were at Ohio Stadium. And I love that about him because it means something to him. It's part of the fabric of his family. His dad was a great player and an Ohio State captain. One of his sons played at Ohio State. One's playing at Michigan now, and
awesome.
Yeah, and Jake and Ty played at Clemson. So it's college football is part of the DNA in their family, and it shows. And he's not afraid to share that.
One of the things that he talked about that was very surprising to me is how much criticism he gets and how much it gets to him later in the season.
Yeah, when he came on our show, he was our first guest on this show, by the way.
Yeah.
Kirk
was.
Really? Yeah. Before we even had a follower or had even done a podcast and put it out.
So how cool is that? I need to text him and encourage him right now because I remember thinking that back then, like in November, I'm just going to send him a text and just encourage him because he's awesome, man.
Yeah. Something came up about that the other day, and I hope he doesn't get mad at me for talking out of school. But I said, hey, man, here's what you should do about that because we're talking about an issue and maybe we're going to get some criticism about something. I said, what you should do is tweet whatever you want to tweet. I said, and then look at the mentions so that you make the little bubble go away and don't read them.
Yeah.
Or if you do read them, don't pay attention to them. Now, look, I'm one of those guys too. He and I have a similar disposition in that we want people to like us. And if someone doesn't like us, we want to explain to them why they really would if they really knew what we meant.
Right.
You know?
Right.
How's
but
it work out?
It did not work out very well at all. So I have gotten to a point, and I think Kirk has too. I'll let him speak for himself. But I've gotten to a point where I can intellectually understand that about myself and go, I can't worry about this, and let it go.
Here's the thing.
Oh, go ahead. Yeah.
The word fan is short for fanatics. There are fanatics that are commenting about what you think. These are not normal people. Right. I am not a normal human on a Saturday. It would never occur to me to like say something, but I'm yell at you at not you, but
Or maybe me.
I might if you're like, that wasn't a pass interference. I was like, what are you even talking about? So these people aren't normal, okay? Right. It also reminds me, I've told several people this, talking to, especially like a head football coach. We had Coach Danielson on, and I had all kind of questions. It kind of reminds me, all of us who don't know, I watch every game on Saturday, all right? I've never been to a practice. I've never seen film on the other team. I don't know I've never met the players in real life. Okay. But I've got ideas about what we could do better. It reminds me of the person that shows up to church about once every 2 months or whatever. They get here late. They don't do anything that the Bible says to do. But I get emails from them about how we could, be more God-honoring.
I don't like the music.
Yeah, I'm like, that's great. That is great. And it dawned on me one time when I'm yelling at the television about why can't Georgia seal the edge. Maybe there's something I don't know about.
How do you think your faith, though, has helped you with what we were just talking about, with some of the criticism that you get, the people that just like to be vocal, and which are really like the bottom 1%, right? Like, I mean, I'm sure you're like all of us. Like, most of the comments are very nice.
Right. What is the Harvard study? It's like a one negative comment will have 7 times or something like that, the impact of all of the positive ones. So all the good show. Hey, can we take a picture? Man, I really enjoy the show. Appreciate your work. You forget that as soon as someone says you stink. Yep. I hate you. You're stupid, or something. I think to answer your question about the faith, I grew up going to church. My dad was a deacon. We went Sunday morning, Sunday night, Wednesday night. You did not miss. There was no reason to miss. There was no excuse for it. I was very much involved in our Christian student ministry at Alabama, and so it's always been part of me. Now, I've fallen short. I've failed at this multiple times throughout my life and career, but my goal is this is not who I am. It's what I do. Mm-hmm. Now, being the host of Game Day or being on television is something you do. It's not who you are. And if I start slipping, that's been one of the things, is that our calling is to have a relationship with Jesus, to point other people to it, to be able to live in such a manner that you are an example, and then being willing to share that with them. And it's one thing that you guys have challenged me on has been good, is because I think that growing up the way I did, it was really a big deal to be a good example. And that is a big deal. You should do that. Mm-hmm. But I think sometimes as Christians, we hide behind that.
No doubt.
It's like, if I'm good, they'll see maybe I didn't say as many bad words as they did, or I did this or that and was a nice person. But sometimes you have to step out there. And, I hate to keep blowing sunshine up your skirt, but I mean, you said something in a sermon a while back about what would you do if you knew what the answer was? And I was like, man, oh man, boy, I got to change. I know what the answer is, Yep. And it's really, I think it's really formed me. It's helped us as a family through some tougher things that have happened to us. I mean, losing parents. My son was badly injured in a baseball game and almost died. And, there are just a number of things that remind you that your job, whatever it is, maybe not yours, but my job, a normal job, it's just going to go away. It's going to be temporary. Mm-hmm. Somebody asked me the other day, he said, why do you ever get tired of taking pictures and, signing stuff? And they said, look, I'm not like even Kirk, or certainly not like Peter Herbstreit, but, not like that. But, you get it from time to time. And I said, someday, and who knows when the day is going to come, nobody's going to want to do it. And also, it might be the 40th for me that morning. It's their first.
Right. No doubt.
So you try to remember that and try to.
Yeah, when people apologize for interrupting, like I'll be at the airport or whatever, I'm like, I'm so sorry. Can we get? I'm like, dude, I'm so glad without y'all listening, and I would just be that random guy on the street corner with a bullhorn. You realize this? Like, no, I would love to sign the book that I wrote. Yeah. Yes, I'm glad that you're reading it. If this means anything to you. And a part of the reason is because we've all been in a place where there was dude, when I found out you go to this church and I would get the opportunity to meet you, I couldn't wait. And if somebody has that feeling towards me, just because God did something in their life while I happen to be teaching the Bible, I want to do my best to make that a positive experience.
Yeah.
Yeah. We've gotten to know the Tebows really well. That brother can't go anywhere.
No.
And you've never seen a more gracious human being with other people, because he gets a sense of what that moment might mean for those folks. I've also met some people, and I really wanted to meet them, mostly pastors. And afterwards I thought, gosh, I wish I never met them, because that didn't go good.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I don't ever want that to be somebody else's experience with me, to the best of my ability.
Yeah, you've said that before, and that registered with me a lot, because I've met those same people, mostly football coaches. It's probably what we do for livings, right?
Right. Yeah.
Well, you talking about being interrupted. I did a lot of basketball games with Bob Knight, and became close with Coach. And he had a line when someone would come up to us. We're sitting there eating dinner, and they'd say, "Coach, I'm sorry to interrupt." "No, you're not, or you wouldn't have done it."
Yeah, sounds like you.
But then he was extraordinarily gracious to them. He was. I saw him one time maybe get a little terse with someone who came up, but contrary to his reputation, he was always very kind and gracious when people came up.
Part of what I tell folks at the church is whenever it comes up, I just say, hey, if you see me out, want to say, hey, please come say hey. But just don't say I go to your church, because it's not my church. It's Jesus' church first and foremost. But we go to church together. I just happen to be the preacher. So just say we go to church together. It's also, though, it's a little clue for me when people walk up and go, we go to church together. And I always go, and you listen. That means they actually attend. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Man, I've been going here forever, and I still say I go to Joby's church.
Whatever.
So, hey, I listen occasionally. How do you, I was thinking about this the other day, like how do you, as a man of faith, balance sports? You're in a corporate culture, right? Especially now. I mean, ESPN's now, but ABC, Disney, all that kind of stuff. How do you balance all that with your faith? Like, how does that,
What do you mean balance?
Well, I mean, I know that there's, I know you're not going out and actively on show talking about your faith, but
right. Oh, I see.
But I also know that there's, we're in a safe cocoon here. We're in a church, like we this is what we do.
Yeah, this podcast is about sports and Jesus.
Right, right. I would venture to say that 70% of the rooms that you walk in, that's not the thing. Like, is that something you think through, or is it just kind of your faith is what it is? And
I'd love to say it's just what it is, but I do think it through sometimes, just to be honest about it. You try to pick your right spots. I remember my dad told me one time that, because I actually was considering going into campus ministry when I was in college. And I remember my dad told me one time that when you have a job, that they're not paying you to go out and try to get them to go to Bible study. He said, now, if you have an opportunity to do so, and it doesn't hinder you from your work or distract the other people from the work, he said, then, that's okay. He said, but they're not paying you to come in and preach to everybody. You got to do your job first. Right. He said, and then the other things go along with it. So I try to pick my spots, and I try to make it as authentic as possible. I think you mentioned Scott. Scott and I, after the national championship game this year, I was on his show briefly, and we started talking about the faith of the Ohio State players. And they had massive baptism. And because of that conversation, a man named Matt Benson saw it and then reached out to me through a mutual acquaintance. And they came down here to the house and interviewed me for quite some time. And part of the movie, I think Tim's involved in it too, called Redemption. And it is a story about Ohio State redeeming its season on the field, but it's also about the way their faith powered that. And, Scott and I got an opportunity on the air to talk about how it didn't mean they were going to win a championship. Just because they had a lot of believers and led students to Christ and baptized people, it didn't mean then that God favored them, because Notre Dame had Christians and Texas had Christians and people of I know they're very proud. I've heard it. I've never met anybody more proud than the Texas people, right? So
Texas Christian.
But it didn't guarantee them success on the field. But what it did, in my judgment, was it made them selfless and able to be honest with each other. And so when adversity hit in the Michigan game and they had that really spirited, emotional, angry meeting with their coaches and with each other, they knew where their hearts were and where it was coming from. So I try to establish it to that level. And if you have an opportunity to talk about faith and why you believe and why this has impressed you on the air or within a corporate culture, then I think it's the right thing for me to do, to step up and do it.
Mm-hmm.
And otherwise, and you do always, I've heard you say this before, you will remember the times right before you do it, right before you say something, of times when you've fallen short in front of the exact same people you're about to witness to.
Sure.
And you're like, man, they're not going to listen because they saw me do this. I know they did. But that's just the devil trying to get you not to do it.
That's right.
And if they challenge you on it, you just have to say, hey, you're right. I did fall short there. I did do that, and I try to change and be better,
So I do a bunch of podcasts. Another one I do is called The Daily Blade. It's a 5-minute daily devotional. And I don't know when this one's going to come out, but the one that's out this week on The Daily Blade is how to be a God-honoring at work. And day one is about there's no sacred secular divide. Mm-hmm. It's not like my job is holy because I teach the Bible and your job isn't because you talk about football and you coach quarterbacks. No. God called us to be co-creators with him to rearrange the raw goods of this world for human flourishing. Mm. I mean, you guys do that in the industry of college football. I do it here. The second day is the best way to glorify God at work is to do the best job you can do. Mm-hmm. So I haven't even talked about being a witness at work yet. I don't even get to that till the third day. And there's a lot of folks that go to work and talk about Jesus. They just don't do a good job, so nobody listens to them.
Right. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And there will be lots of people that hear you talk about Jesus here and tune into Game Day differently from now on. They just will.
Yeah.
And what that sounds like to me, talking to Scott, Acts 1:8, Jesus says, and you will receive power when the Holy Spirit comes upon you, and you will be my witnesses in Jerusalem, Judea, Samaria, and the ends of the earth. A big part of what that is you've just got to be ready when the Spirit of God gives you that nudge and that opportunity instead of trying to beat the door down all the time. Now, you should always be ready.
Right.
But when somebody's like, so who do you think is going to win Georgia-Florida game? Like, well, speaking of Georgia, and you just talk, you're like, what are you talking about, man? You've got to have those opportunities and be really wise about them and be really good at your job and live a lifestyle above reproach so that you don't, you're not your own worst enemy to your own testimony, right? Mm-hmm. And then when asked about faith questions, be open and honest and go.
Mm-hmm. It's interesting because y'all just kind of said the same thing about his job and what he said about Ohio State, and what it comes down to is just having a heart that's right. And in Ohio State's like, they got a whole locker room of right hearts last year, right? Of people pulling together.
That's how I knew we were screwed.
I know.
Early on, I was reading this report, and I'm like, no. She's like, what? And I'm like, oh, they're all getting baptized at Ohio State. She's like, who? I was like, the football players. She's like, isn't that awesome? I was like, well, I mean, it will be when we get to heaven with them, but they're already so good. Now they got the Spirit of God on them.
He
we're
told
dead.
me that in June.
I did.
He's like, man, we're screwed.
We're
screwed. I'm like, what are you talking about? Did you see this stuff at Ohio State?
How about my daughter? My daughter is an actress in New York and very involved in the congregation there. She and her new husband now, they are really involved in the church. And she was talking to some of the people who are working on Redemption on the movie. And she watched it the other night when it came out. And she said, because she likes football too, and she goes, well, now I kind of like Ohio State after that.
I don't know if I can do it.
No, she's like, I don't know if I can actually. Do I have to root for them? I said, no, not on the field. You don't have to.
But that's the cool thing about this, like the preparation. We spent a lot of time really talking about preparation today, right? Like when we talk about game day and everything. But the process of getting into the Word of God and understanding what that means prepares you for those moments that we're talking about, whether that's on a football field or in front of a camera or anything like that, because it just softens your heart, right? And it makes you wiser, and the things that come out of your mouth are a little different. I mean, I think we all feel that, right? Like there's all seasons of our life where we feel very convicted about where we are and our walk is solid and it's daily and all that. And things just, you move smoother.
I try to do it every morning. And I didn't do that growing up. When I grew up, my wife and I were talking about this the other night. We read the Bible when I was a kid every night. And we did it at night. And then, through college, you find that quiet time or whatever. But as an adult several years ago, I try to do it first now because something will go on your heart that will impact the way you behave later that day.
No doubt.
And when you are challenged, even if the verse might not be directly applicable to your situation, there will be something that will speak to you when you have a difficult moment in the day. So I try to do it first, and then I probably drive my kids crazy, and then I pick out the verse, and I text them the verse and every day and all of that stuff. So.
Yeah, I have found if the first thing I do when I get up in the morning is pray and read my Bible, there's a lot more hope and direction in that time with the Lord. If it's the last thing I do, honestly, it's mostly confession and regret. That's that, and so I want to be on the, hey, why don't you guide me into the day as opposed to like, look at, James says the Bible's like the mirror. And he's like, what man among you would look in the mirror and not do anything about it, Well, who would just look at the mirror right before you go to bed,
Right.
So there's nothing wrong with reading the Bible at night and praying at night, for sure, but it is a really good idea. That's why we started the Daily Blade. We were thinking about busy men, and I wasn't thinking about like a flowery devotional. I was thinking of a halftime locker room speech. That's what this thing is. You're about to walk out into your day. I'd say Kirby Smart minus the cuss words, add Jesus. That's what it is.
Yep.
This is what I want you to hear, now ready to go.
Yep.
And it's short and it's to the point to try to help guys like get started. I think a lot of guys listen to this throughout the week. Same kind of thing,
Yeah, for sure. And I think we all are lucky too because we're working around people who also have faith. I mean, Pat Young is right over there, right? Like, and you work with Pat all the time. Pat's the one that lined this up.
He is. Yes.
Yeah.
He's unbelievable.
Yeah, amazing. And then we
dude.
talked about David Pollack and how close. You talk about that for a second. You mentioned about you and David's relationship.
He's one of the best people I've ever met. And the funny thing is like he's become so close. Our families are close and everything, and then struggles that Lindsay has gone through recently. And the faith that he's shown through that is exemplary. If you've got him on your side, he will not waver, man. I mean, that dude is as good as they come. And he will challenge you. He does not mind challenging you. If you stand in error of the scripture, he does not mind calling you out, which is a great thing to have in your corner. And I know that's one guy that would do anything I needed. I mean, he's just the best. I think about when we first started working together, and he's going to kill me for saying this. I'm going to.
Good.
You guys are fun.
Love it. I'll back you up.
So man, the first game we did together, and David is not shy. If he needs to let one rip, he's going to let it rip. Does not care. Distinct. I mean, and vile, awful. So second game we come in, and so I didn't even know Lindsay. So on the way back to the hotel, I said he was talking to her wife. I said, I got to talk to her. Give me the phone. And I said, what do you do about this? She said, you can't do anything about it. It's too bad. You can't stop him. And we got to do something. So the second game we did, we got to the broadcast booth. I put my bag up on the desk, and I said, hey, Davey, okay, I got 3 things for you. I said, these are Gas X. If you need that, take that. I said, if that doesn't work, try these Beano. And he's sort of laughing. And then I had gone to CVS and I bought a wine cork. And I said, if that doesn't work, just do this. I said, whatever it takes. We can't take this anymore.
Oh, especially in a little booth, right?
Yeah, no, but he gets such a charge out of it. But I've never met anybody with the same energy he's had.
Yeah.
I've never met anybody as true to himself. I've never met anyone more loyal or that cares about people more. He called me up. I mean, you guys know about this thing he does around Thanksgiving in Athens? It's called a banquet of blessings. He called me up like one night and he said, hey, big homie, he said, I'm going to do this banquet for homeless people in Athens, and we're going to rent out this place. I said, oh, you're going to do it next year? He goes, no, we're going to do it in 3 weeks. I'm like, 3 weeks? How are you going to do this? And he pulled it together, and they served, like, I think almost 1,000 people, and it's just gotten bigger and bigger every year. He has a heart where if the Holy Spirit leads him somewhere, he's going there. And I mean, it's an example and a half to all of us, I think, just to say, boy, if he can do it, then I should behave that way too. It's been an inspiration to me. I treasure that guy's friendship.
Well, to that point, when he was on here, I remember thinking, like, I think I'm pretty busy. That dude,
wide open, man,
all the time. I mean, he's talking
Speaks
about
everywhere.
Yeah.
Coaches.
I think the day we talked to him, he was in Nashville speaking at FCA and came back.
Yeah.
And it challenges you. And I think that's what one of the things the point I was trying to make is, like, we're around people that not just are other Christian men around us, but they're Christian men that are constantly challenging me to be better.
Yeah.
Here's a David Pollack text. Ready?
Okay.
Oh, no.
He says, got a speaking gig Tuesday night. I'm excited about my 3-hour drive to crush your new book on audio. I'm going to smash it like the dogs did the Longhorns.
Right on brand. That's it right there.
Bro, what's cool, though, is because I was talking Georgia football, and I'm like, all right, what are we doing? What about that guy? I mean, he knows what I'm looking for. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's neat for somebody that loves it like me to ask, like a real analyst that played at that level, you know?
Yeah.
And then he doesn't hold back. He's like, well, here's what Gunner's got to do, and here's what he's looking at. And dude, I love it so much.
He coaches his daughter too, and he wears out Seth Greenberg, who's my basketball partner, about coming up with different basketball sets and actions and plays. He's working him over too.
Yeah, he's just a high energy guy. I want to be that guy. I'm not that high. I do a lot, but I'm not that excitable. How do you balance, like, this is your job, but also, like, man, I can't believe I get to do this. Like, this is my calling, right?
I think if I ever start a show and don't have that surge of adrenaline, it's not really nerves, but the surge of adrenaline right before I start, it's probably time to stop.
Right.
And every time I feel that surge, and there are plenty of times that I'm, on a sideline of a game, and I'm like, boy, this is awesome. I mean, how did this happen?
Mm-hmm.
I've been at ESPN now for 30 and a half years. And I've been doing Game Day for 11, and I've been doing college football either in studio for like 16 years before I started doing Game Day. And it's the sport I love more than any other. I do love college basketball, but college football kind of drives the boat. Mm-hmm. And to be able to get to do that every week, and to go into these great stadiums, these great places, and talk with all these people and be friends with David Pollack and Desmond Howard and stuff. Every now and then you stop and, I'll do that with Des sometimes, man. I mean, I wouldn't tell him this, but I'll go, it's a Super Bowl MVP.
Yeah.
Heisman Trophy winner.
Right.
Right there. It's like, that's pretty cool. First time I did it was with Brent Musburger. I was doing NBA Finals, and we were sharing a cab back after the Jordan flu game. And, he was calling the games on radio, and I was the radio studio host for the 97 finals. And, you're kind of acting like you belong, and you felt like you belong. You didn't really think of it. Early morning flight. We're going to the airport in Salt Lake City and just kind of sitting there. We'd chat a little bit, but we're just kind of sitting there. And look out at the Wasatch Mountains beside, and I'm like, that's Brent Musburger. I think it must be going okay for me right now, So it's like,
Yeah, that's surreal.
Yeah,
I released a book this year, and we did this roundtable discussion, about the book. So I invited a bunch of my friends in, to talk about it. And I sit down at the table, and there's Brock Purdy, there's Tim Tebow, there's Jeff Foxworthy, and then a bunch of preachers, Matt Chandler, some other guys. And I was like, guys, I've purchased a ticket to watch every single one of you do your thing. And now you're my friends.
Yep.
And it is a surreal experience.
Yeah.
One of the coolest things about this, honestly, is meeting guys like you. And there's somebody that you enjoy or look up to or entertained by or whatever. And the overwhelming majority of the time, they've been better dudes than whatever the thing is that they're known for. Like take Pollack, sack leader for the Georgia Bulldogs.
Yep.
We spent an hour and a half with him on here, and then a bunch of texts now, and he's an even a better guy than the football player you're rooting for. You know?
Yep.
Same thing with Herb Street, Tebow, all these guys.
The only thing wrong with Pollack is that, I mean, he won't eat anything that's like good.
Oh, really?
Well, I mean, unless it's a steak. I mean, he'll eat a steak. Ridiculously so.
I don't like those people.
No, it's like, I haven't eaten ice cream in 15 years. Well, good for you.
Yeah, that's Tebow. You ever hang out with Tebow?
Yeah, I know it. Him too.
Oh, my goodness.
I know
he
it.
eats like just, I mean, but look at him.
The only time I've only met
I'm going
Tim
straight to
one time.
Angie Subs right after.
Oh, let's
I mean,
go.
yeah.
It's sweet tea.
I don't know if I can drive by Taco Lou to get there.
Yeah.
That's the problem.
a good point, too.
Oh, that's a good day right there. Lunch at Angie's and Taco Lou
The
for
only time
dinner.
I've ever been with Tebow was in a green room. He was speaking at Providence.
Okay, yeah.
And I was like hosting it or whatever. And it like went a little long, and I saw that man eat about 6 chicken.
Yeah.
Like just grilled chicken and green beans, about 2.5 pounds. And I'm
That's
like,
him. He's
"Geez,
dedicated."
man, just like, where's the dessert?
He is dedicated.
Yeah. The hosting a studio show versus hosting a live show. Is there some stories on that? Like, I know there's a huge difference, but like, are there some live show, like, oh my gosh, stories that stick out to you?
I think on a live show, you need to be very aware of what's happening in the crowd. And you can't cater to it all the time. And it takes a little time to know when you should acknowledge it and when you should just let it happen in the background. But that's the biggest difference. Everything in a studio show, maybe not the comments themselves, but everything is pretty orderly. And not much is going to take you off track. Yeah, maybe a discussion here or there, but not anything external.
Right.
When you're doing game day, whether football or basketball, it's very easy for something that you should acknowledge and go with and let it ride. Like last night, they started booing Red Panda because she dropped the bowl or something. So we ended up showing her, and we kind of blew off what we were talking about to like say, is she going to do it? Is she going to? Hey, there she goes. She's riding the unicycle. We're talking about riding unicycles all of a sudden. So I think when you're in a live environment, you need to be cognizant of what's happening out there, and then also have enough discipline to know I don't have to acknowledge every single thing that happens in the crowd. But when there's a good moment that maybe you can make something out of, you do. And then you have to trust everybody around you that they can react to it and it doesn't throw them off too.
You talked about your son played baseball. Still does.
Yeah.
Okay. And I read about the accident. Do you want to, like, it was a baseball accident? What was can you walk us through that?
Well,
are you good to talk about it?
Yeah, no, I'm good to talk about it if I can make it. I mean, even after 8 years, it's still hard to talk about. But he was playing at Princeton, and it was his first year. He was a freshman, sort of a freshman. A little background, he'd broken his nose a couple of times, never been hurt in his life. And playing in a tournament after his senior year in high school, he dislocated his shoulder, tried to rehab it, couldn't, ended up losing his first year. So now, fast forward, so he's there, improved himself. He's playing center field in a game against Maryland, and he's having a great day, already had a hit, makes a catch, and for whatever reason, there was a miscommunication, and right fielder drilled him. And he held on to the ball, stayed in the game, got another hit later. We didn't know the extent of it. But as it turns out, a very long story short, he had ruptured his spleen, grade 5 lacerations, 2 of them. And by that night, he almost bled out in the hospital. And the doctors that saved him at the second hospital, a little tip, you better make sure you get to the right hospital. We didn't know what was wrong for sure. First hospital we went to, they couldn't get an ambulance to the hospital to get him to the trauma center in D.C. And the surgeons who operated on the congressmen who were shot when they were attacked practicing for the baseball game were the same ones who operated on my son. And they did a couple operations and they saved him. And, it was kind of a freak thing. I mean, he said later, I mean, it was a collision, but he said later, I've been hit harder in football, than I was there. But
so he had the collision, he played the rest of the game.
Game.
That's wild.
And then by that night, he was in trouble. It was like,
There's no pain like kid pain, right?
Oh, it was tough. All these years, my wife and I, we say we probably still have trauma from it, man. It is so tough to deal with it. It's like, I'm not trying to take it off to a different direction, but like my daughter just got married about a month ago. absolutely love her husband. He's awesome. And it was so hard. I cried the whole time. You know, I can't imagine if I didn't like the guy, what it would be like, you know. But, I mean, I love him. He's awesome. But, you know, everything is something about your kids, man.
Yeah.
You know, when either you're taking them to the next stage of life or, you know, like in my son's case, his life was in danger. It was tough, man. It was tough.
Yeah.
Speaking of the marriage thing real quick,
Yeah.
Dallas got engaged last week.
What?
My son. Yeah, you met him out there.
Congratulations.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
that's
got engaged.
great.
And Angie's the same way. Like for 2 straight days, she's just walking around crying. I'm like, you like the girl. Like you like her. What is the problem?
I don't
here?
know. I wish I could explain it. If I could, I would. I don't understand it.
Yeah.
I don't understand it at all.
Here's a verse for you. 3 John only has 1 chapter. So 3 John verse 4 says, I have no greater joy than to hear my children are walking in the truth. Think about that. The guy that wrote that is the same guy that also received the revelation of the glorified Christ and his return, the new heavens, the new earth. That same guy sat at the table at the Last Supper with Jesus and put his head on his shoulder.
Yeah.
That guy saw the resurrected Christ and the empty tomb and outrun Peter to get there. He put that in, right? And of all the things that guy says brings the most joy to him, I have no greater joy than to hear my children are walking in the truth. There's just something about it, about a father's heart, for mothers too, for sure, but we're all dads here, but a father's heart for their kids, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think I won't say anybody else, but for me, I didn't realize how important that was until they got a little older. It's like, oh, dang, I'm running out of time. You know what I mean? Like,
Reagan just got her driver's license.
Yeah.
Everything changes.
And then I'll be honest, like when Dallas got engaged, it's like, okay, now like, have I taught him to be a good husband? Like, what has he seen? Like, what
Right.
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you do. I wish there was a way to explain that to dads when your kid's 1. But it's, you know, I've got a 14-year-old, I've got a 24-year-old, and now it's like, gosh.
Well, way more is caught than taught.
Yeah.
Kids have never been good listeners. They're amazing imitators.
It's true because you think you always want to teach them as you are going, you know, down the road and show them all of that. And you think that means you got to sit them down, tell them everything. And I've questioned myself about that a ton of times. Like, did I do that diligently enough? But you hope that they extend you a little bit of grace when you didn't do it just right. But at the same time, if you were the example and if you lived your faith as best you could to them, that they understand that and know what's important.
How do you manage the schedule with also being a husband and a dad and going to ball games? And
We need to take notes with this, Joby. You and I.
You're on television every day. You're everywhere.
I texted Cody this morning. I'm like, did you confirm? Because I just saw him at Madison Square Garden last night. Like,
my wife and I actually talked about this the other day. When I'm there, I try to be there.
Right.
And I've fallen short. She actually called me on this, and thanks a lot for some of that stuff on the podcast. But she called me on it the other day. She said, every now and then, she said, something will be going on with the show. Something will be going on that she said, I understand you have to manage it. She said, but if I'm talking to you and you pull out your phone, I wonder if you're with me.
Yeah.
There. Now, she did tell me that, and she told me, she said, don't you tell him this, but I'm going to, because we listened to one of the recent podcasts and Stand Firm and Act Like a Man and talking about marriage. And I came out of it and I said, what? I said, what? Then that was when she told me. And I said, okay, I'll make sure I do better about that. And I said, I don't think I've done a very good job of being a husband. She goes, no, you've been awesome. You've been awesome. And then she was very affectionate later to show me that. So I was very happy about that.
God. You're welcome.
You're welcome.
Well, she's going to kill me
matters
now.
A ton.
I know.
But you mentioned the other day
awesome.
about this. You mentioned about you and Gretchen, and you were like, we're not talking about cheating. We're not talking. We're down to like the nitty gritty of making this thing the best marriage you can absolutely make. Right,
man. My schedule has been ridiculous lately. Ridiculous.
Yeah.
And we celebrated 25 years, and we went on this great trip to Belgium, and I bought her a diamond because she had the youth pastor version.
Yeah.
She'd never asked for it, never, she would never complain. And now that I can upgrade, I'm like, we're upgrading. So anyway, that thing has been sitting in a bag without a ring for 2 months because my schedule. And she's like, is there any time we can go? And so I'm supposed to be leading a pastor's retreat. I was like, those pastors can wait. I'm taking her to the jeweler and getting this thing done. And a big part of it is because I listened to my own podcast from last week, because it is way easier to talk about being a husband than actually be a husband.
Y'all got to chill with these rings, bro.
No, but I think the biggest thing is
I'm just trying to value her.
But Angie's is $39. My wife has a $39 ring because we had to pawn hers off to pay an electric bill 15 years ago. And now Dallas has bought one, Cody's bought one. Now you're talking about buying one. Dang y'all. Edit that part out of the podcast.
We
please.
upgraded a few years ago. But I do think it's really important, as best you can, when you're there, be there. Yes. And I try to do that with my kids. Christopher actually says that's why he plays baseball, he thinks, because I was so busy during football and basketball season. He played those two. But I got to coach in baseball, so I got to be out there. Baseball season, I could throw batting practice. I'm wild, man. I wasn't wild until I hit a couple of my little leaguers, and then I got wild and started trying to guide it, like Chuck Knobloch trying to throw to first base. But yeah, and he said that was part of it, to your point, because I was there and engaged. And then because you don't know what to do with girls sometimes initially.
Very true.
But that was initially. But I dove in, man. When I was home, I played with the dollhouses and I played with the Barbies and I did all of that because my daughter, a little bit of sports, but she's an actress. She was always on the artistic side. So I tried to dive in, and when I was home and she wanted to do it and we were playing, I did it. And that
well, we say all the time,
yeah,
there is no balance. Like if you're going to be great at everything, balance is a myth, right? But what is kind
balance
of
is going 6 and 6.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I mean, that's it. That's you get a bowl game, you're never gonna win a natty.
Yep.
Yeah.
Like we're supposed to live hard for the Lord and what He has called us to, and then Sabbath and rest and refuel and go hard again. That's not running at a medium pace.
Yeah.
Like I've said, that's South Carolina football. They're gonna be all right. They're gonna have a few upsets. Can't pull it off against Bama. But
the dude sitting listening to this who working his fingers to the bone, barely making ends meet, trying to spend time with the wife, like how does that go? Like, I mean, where are your your godly responsibilities? Like, what would the advice be for somebody like that? I mean, we all are not in that situation.
Okay.
Right.
So you have to schedule your priorities, not prioritize your schedule. And you'll never feel like you're winning everywhere. Because what the enemy is going to do, no matter what you do well, the enemy is going to whisper that you're falling short in another area. But the Bible says His divine power has given us everything we need for life and godliness. Another way to understand that is if God has called you to it, He has given you what you need to accomplish it. So it was His idea you'd be a man. He called you to be a husband. He called you to that career, and He called you to be a dad. And so you can do all that you can do with the time allotted, but allot that time rightly. You should be in constant negotiation with your wife. And this changes season by season as your kids change seasons. Yep. So if you got little kids right now and you're married, you're in baby jail. It's terrible. Yep. It's going to get better. Enjoy the moments. But then when they get to school, you're going to have a different set of negotiations around schedule. If they play sports, that's a whole different thing. And you just enjoy each one of those seasons. I mean, one of the things we learned from Logan Cook, the punter for the Jags, was on. And they're young. He and his wife are young, have young kids. And they have just decided we refuse to say, I can't wait until. We're just going to be in the moment where our children are right now.
Yep. They'll say, I'm looking forward to.
Yep.
Right? Is that what they said?
Yeah. But they're trying to enjoy right now. Yep. So, but the conversation that you have with your wife is the way to go. Mm-hmm. Like when things are going good, you need to say, okay, listen, I'm trying to be a better husband. I've been listening to these sermons. Can you help me out here? Like, can you help me help you? Can you help me win? Like what I value you. I cherish you in my heart. So how do I get that from in here to out there? Mm-hmm. Sometimes it's the littlest things. One time Gretchen was like, why do you fold up your socks before you put them in the laundry? And I was like, well, that's how they come out in my drawer. She's like, it's just a big ball of water when you do that. And I was like, oh.
Wait, you do what?
Like when I take my socks off and throw them in the hamper, I would fold them together, thinking those stay together. I never thought about it. Yeah. It made her want to kill me. You know what I mean?
I found it.
Sometimes it's the littlest
small thing.
She was like, don't do that. And I'm like, oh, yeah, you're right.
My wife does so much. She's amazing. She's awesome. And I several years ago, I started noticing, And I'm not one of these guys that's super meticulous about every little thing around the house, but I started noticing that, when I would get up and make my coffee in the morning, I'm usually the first one up, that later in the day, dishwasher still hadn't been emptied. I was like, why didn't she empty the dishwasher? I didn't say anything, smart. And I thought, of all the stuff she does, that's the one thing she kind of doesn't like.
That's it.
So in the mornings now, I make my coffee, I empty the dishwasher.
That's it.
Put it away.
That's it.
Hey, gum you two, talking about rings and emptying dishwashers.
Well, here's the thing. Okay, so
I patted myself on the back really good.
Good job.
yeah,
Good
but it's
job.
so smart, right? It's so smart. The other thing for me is Gretchen's level of clean and my level of clean.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
So if I clean the counter, she cleans the counter
Right.
behind me. But dishes are either in the dishwasher or up.
Right.
So that's that's on off. There's no in between. It's very binary.
Yeah.
So I do that. She hates folding laundry. And I fold laundry real slow while I watch you on Saturday mornings. That's literally what I do.
Yeah.
It's like guilt-free game day. And I just fold all the stuff, not all the stuff, but yeah.
So when this thing is, I don't know, however long you're going to go, with keep doing these things. What do you kind of want that legacy to be when you're done with this?
It's a great question because, I don't want to give just like the church I'm sitting here with the preacher answer either. And I'm being totally honest about this. Things about, broadcasting awards or anything. I don't know. It doesn't do it for me. I'm happy when we win, but it's just not why I do it. I hope that people will look at it and say, look, he loved the sport. He was great to work with. He lived his life a little bit differently. Maybe he didn't. I'm sure there are plenty of people you guys could find that would say that Rece Davis is the most selfish person I've ever been around. I try not to be, but I hope they think I was unselfish. I hope they, somehow that I've pointed them to the Lord on some level. And I hope people enjoy, just from a TV standpoint, I hope people have enjoyed the show. It's very gratifying when people say they like the show. They watch on Saturday mornings.
Mm-hmm.
People say, we get up with you guys every Saturday morning. That's, I don't know. Then it's kind of enough there. I don't need to be, in any Hall of Fame or any, lifetime achievement or anything like that. I think that's enough for me. I like going to the games. I get to talk about football. I work with great people who I enjoy being around. I get to meet guys like you. It's kind of good. It's really, really good.
Think about how neat this is. For so many people, your voice, your actual voice, the noise that comes out of your mouth will be directly associated with some of their happiest moments of their life. Like them and their kid and whoever they're a fan of.
Video game.
Like literally my son, he wants to talk to you because of the NCAA football game. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He's like, that guy talks to me every night. But you know that, right? Like you hear, like every dog fan hears Larry Munson. You're like, oh. So that's you for a bunch of people because you made a call or you had an interview on this thing that they love so much, and they associate your voice with joy, with happiness, with like a great moment. That's why I say there's no sacred secular divide. Like you are partnering with the creator of your voice and these moments for people to experience relationships and moments and memories. And it's a really, really, really cool thing. And I'm glad that a man of faith is leading Game Day. It's cool.
I appreciate that.
I find myself asking questions of our guests that I'm struggling with at the time. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that, and legacy may not even be the right word, but it that's been on my mind a lot, a whole lot. We talk about our kids growing up, and excuse me. I think sometimes it's like I want to show my kids I'm successful, and I want to provide this, and I want to. And it's like recently, I'm like, but at what cost? Like what did I pay for that? Like, as they're getting a little bit older. And so that has been weighing on me, guys, so heavy. Is just like, all right, what do I want this to look like? And I can't calculate that in my head. I just can't do it. I don't know why, but I'm struggling with that.
With a 20-year-old and a 16-year-old, when people ask me, I have no career aspirations. I want to pastor this church until I'm dead.
Kind of the same. All right, keep going, because maybe you're going to help
I think way more about my family And with a 20-year-old and a 16-year-old, I feel like my job is just, at this point, is just be an influence. I want to be there to be a helpful influence and just make memories. Just make memories. So I am scouring my calendar right now thinking, how can I include my kids? What can I say no to do stuff with my kids? I just get invited to be at the Passion Conference, which is a big, that's like Louie and Timmy and a bunch of my friends. And they wanted me to come. And I was like, only if I can bring Reagan. Because Reagan loves Jesus. Reagan wants to go into ministry. Mm-hmm. For her to be able to go to the backstage green room and meet Sadie and kind of hang out, that to her, she would probably rather do that than meet whatever famous rock star kind of person, And so if I can leverage that to make a memory with her, because she gives up a lot for me, for her to be my kid.
Yeah.
Same is true for all of our kids. And so that's what I'm doing right now. I'm just thinking, how can I make memories with my kids? And that's what Gretchen and I are talking about.
Yeah.
I did this summer. Elizabeth and I did 2 father-daughter trips. I squeezed 2 out of it before the wedding went.
Way to go.
She loves roller coasters and Disney World. So we went to Disney, just the 2 of us, for a few days, and then we went to Hershey, Pennsylvania, and did 2 of our favorite things: eat chocolate and ride roller coasters. So awesome. it was great. So, but you're right; those things, you'll remember those. Those so much more important. I mean, because everybody's heard this said before. Nobody ever says at the end, boy, I wish I'd worked one more day.
That's right.
I wish I'd, hosted one more show or whatever. But you would like to go back and, take one more trip to to an amusement park, or I'd like to coach one more baseball game or something like that. You do want that.
Yeah. Yeah. And this is it's a dude in the Alabama Hall of Fame.
Right.
Right. You know what I mean? Like, that's why I'm asking him this, because it's like, all right, I mean, young Rece Davis, if you'd have lined up where you're at right now, you'd have been like, wow.
Yeah.
Incredible.
And I am very grateful.
Right.
I don't want to come off as if I'm dismissing it or diminishing it. But
I didn't mean it to sound.
No, I don't think it did. I was the one that could have come off that way. But
you probably wouldn't have ended up here though if somehow you could see into the future.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know what I mean? You would screw it all up and not end up where
that's
you
such
are.
a good point.
Probably so.
That's such a good point.
Because somehow the way the Lord's so we planted this church in 2012. In 2008, I thought I'd be a youth pastor the rest of my life, but I loved it. I never saw what I was doing as a stepping stone to the next thing. I just loved what I was doing. I love what I'm doing right now. Mm-hmm. And if somehow the Lord would have let me see too far in the future, I would have screwed everything up. But Psalm 119 says that word is like a lamp unto your feet and a light unto your path. Well, a lamp, you only see a few steps ahead, just enough to take those steps.
Yep.
You can't see all the way to the end.
Yep.
Probably because we couldn't be trusted with it. Or I would try to not trust him. I would trust in me.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
No, that's such a good point. Yeah, because I mean, I again, not putting words in your mouth, Rece, but I got to think, you get hired at ESPN, you're like, I made it. And that was just the beginning, man.
Yeah.
Like,
almost got fired before it got started.
Oh, yeah?
What?
Yeah. I didn't do anything. That was part of the problem. When they hired me, they said they were creating distinct identities for ESPN and ESPN2. And I was hired for ESPN2. And at that time, that meant if you wore a tie, you weren't supposed to wear a jacket. And if you wore a jacket, don't wear a tie. And a lot of denim was good. And, it was kind of ridiculous, but they had the grungy graphics and it was supposed to be separate. And when I was hired, they said, don't come in here asking to do SportsCenter. So I'd only been there a couple of months and they stopped doing the Sports Night show, and I was trying to be a good soldier. Yes, sir. They told me not to come ask to do SportsCenter, so I didn't. And they come to the option time of my contract and they called me in and they asked if they could have an extension. And I said, are you guys thinking about firing me? And well, we don't know. And it became apparent they were. And so I said, well, who do I need to talk to about this? And, corporate America, him, I don't know, point all these different places. I went all over the place and finally got to our president, who, after this happened, he's no longer working for us. But he said, I finally got to him after 2 weeks. He'd been on vacation. It's happened around Christmas too, made for a great holiday. But I said, what's the deal? And we talked a little bit. And I said, look, no one comes here to do the Sports Smash. Everybody comes here to do SportsCenter. He said, well, all I did was ask what we were going to do with you. And I said, just let me do SportsCenter. And he goes, okay. He said, I'll give you a shot at it. He said, we'll get you on the schedule. So he got me on the schedule for a couple of times, and it worked out from there. But I was that close to being 9 months and out.
How about if you were the guy that fired Rece Davis? You know what I mean? I mean, the face of game day.
Hey, but they would, to your point, they would have never known it. Probably might have never known it, you know?
Yeah.
So,
well, we've gone longer, man. I appreciate, I really appreciate you spending the time.
No, thank you guys for the time.
It's fantastic. And anytime you want to come, we'd love to have you.
Thank you very much.
Yep. It's Bill for More. Denny Thompson, Pastor Joby Martin. We appreciate the support. Like, subscribe, follow, tell your friends, all the things. We'll talk to you soon.